Hey everybody, welcome to episode 45 of Around the Verse, your source for Star Citizen news. I'm Ben Lesnick, and I'm joined by no one this week. I am once again all alone, but Sandi is still busy at work on the game. She's in the UK doing the motion capture for Squadron 42. In fact, she has a little update for us.
Hey everybody, it's Sandi again for a little bit of a guerrilla shoot for Around the Verse. I'm back with Chris, and what's going on here, Chris?
Oh, well, this is the headset. These are Vicon headsets, and this is what everyone wears so we can capture everything that's happening on the face. There's 3 cameras on, we have a fair amount of camera setups, but for the people that we want all the detail on, we do 3 cameras. And you wear it. There's a backpack on the back with a battery, a hard drive that's recording the footage, and then it also transmits to a monitor thing that we have there. So they're pretty cool for getting all the close-up on what's happening with every one of the actors. The only downside is it's fairly heavy, so I think it gets a little tight on your head.
It does. Get a little bit of pressure there.
But it gets the performance. That's what we do.
Is that it? We're going to have a bit more than that.
What else
I'm still bobbled up.
Okay, well, yeah. Well, that's not the headset.
No, I know.
These are what they use to track with all the cameras. So there's a bunch of cameras around. I think there's about 50 in here. I'm not quite sure, but it's about that. And so yeah, we track for the feet and the legs, and these actually are how they code different people. So Sandi, in this case, I guess you're wearing purple, so you wear the purple.
Yeah, with my little.
Yeah, that's the code
my
for
ID.
it. And so we capture all the body motion and all the facial motion with those 2 things. So we have face running, straight mocap running, and then we have reference cameras. You see the cameras around here? They're all used to sort of be reference footage. So when they're trying to solve the actual digital data, where all the sort of points and bubbles are, if there's any sort of noise in the data, which there sometimes can be because there can be objects that occlude it, like this table or other props that we put in. The reference camera will help set up what's on the face and everything like that, or what's on the body.
So I guess, Dave, you can do a little around the verse with the cameras. Impressive. Dave is not only our lead writer.
Yeah.
And his hand.
All right, guys. Thanks. We'll see you next week.
See you next week.
Thank you, Sandi. It's good to see you again, and we can't wait to have you back here. As you can see, Chris and Sandi are hard at work on Squadron 42. The capture session is apparently going very, very well. I haven't seen Chris this happy in years. In fact, check out this photo of him in the cockpit of a Hornet. Meanwhile, here in Santa Monica, we are celebrating the success of the Starfarer and Starfarer Gemini sale. We hope everybody out there who wanted to add a tanker to their fleet got the opportunity. We're interested to know if you'd like to see us bring back other ships in the future. Let us know on the forums. There's ships like the Caterpillar that we know you'd like to see more of. We released Star Citizen Alpha 1.1.3 to main last week, now available on the live server. Star Citizen 1.1.3 increases stability, fixes some issues with rubber banding surrounding the Cutlass, and even updates the recently added tutorial mode. If you haven't tried it yet, check it out. It's all setting the stage for our next big update, which is the FPS module. We can't give you a release date, but it's coming. If you've ever had the urge to try out one of Star Citizen's other starter ships, you have the opportunity this weekend. We've made all the Aurora and Mustang models available as fly-free in Arena Commander, which means you can log into the game and try out any of the half dozen or so models available. Let us know what you think. This helps us test for balancing, and it gives you even more exciting things to do in the game. So let us know how the Mustang Omega or the Aurora LN flies. And well, let's go over to the Spectrum to see what's up with the rest of the Star Citizen team. Let's go over to the Spectrum to see what's up with the rest of the Star Citizen team. Spectrum it! Let's go over to the Spectrum to see what's up with Star Citizen. Over to the Spectrum to see how's it hanging in Star Citizenville. Spectrum stuff! I'm just making more work for that.
No, I'm leaving it all in.
Hello everyone, this is Darian Borlick
And Travis Day.
from Santa Monica Cloud Imperium Games, bringing you our weekly update, starting with Well, the first one we've got, in fact, the ship meeting is actually going on right now, being head by Lisa, where we are trying to make the Merlin flight capable. So we've got our meeting right now, trying to plan out the technical directives and how we want to approach making it flight ready. But it is something that's in the works right now.
Yeah, and so on the FPS front, some of the guys here at the studio are continuing to support the FTS team at Ilphonic. We've got Mark Abent, who we spoke a little bit about the radar work he's done. He's wrapping up the work on the radar now that's handed off to Ilphonic and Nick Fletcher over there. We also have Paul, who's continuing to support on his item port system, because we're taking the item port system that was made for ships, and we've converted it over to players, so all of your attachments, magazine attachments, flashlight attachments, attachments on the weapons, all use the same unified system as the ships do. So it's cool, but obviously when you move a system over, it has a few bugs that come along with it.
So finally, something pretty exciting. We are working towards true multi-crew support. So that's a feature that we're currently working on that Mark Abent is kind of spearheading from his end. I think you may be able to fill in some more details on that, but the ability to have multiple people flying in a crew, entering, exiting cockpits, possible new game modes.
Yeah, there's a lot of I guess a lot of technical hurdles that we haven't really tackled. Right. We haven't had to tackle with the smaller ships. So it's things like, people have seen my interview or Chris's interviews talking about the zone system, the instancing system, the interior vehicle physics grid. All of these things kind of roll into, will probably end up being driven by the zone system. But it's all in kind of R&D stages right now in first pass implementation. We also got the guys at the UK team are hard at work working on things like controlling multiple actions from multiple seats, making sure that vehicle turrets actually work properly and are treated as their own seat with their own capabilities, driven by their own power and CPU usage, everything else. So there's a lot of things that as we move towards it's a multi-crew, but also just a larger vehicle with more moving parts and more interactivity, things like the Ghost system become super important. I think that if you guys watched last week, I think Kirk did an interview talking about the Ghost system. So things like that allow us to do a lot of the cool stuff that if you watched, for example, Nathan Dearsley had put together the cool video on the Retaliator when the Retaliator first came out, and it had some shots of the camera like going down a hallway and you see like steam blow out, and then all of a sudden the emergency lighting comes on. So it's these kinds of things that can be driven by the Ghost system, so that as you take damage, the ship will enter a state of, it's a damaged state, that will then drive a bunch of interior flow graph scripting, which will trigger things like emergency lighting, VFX to play, interior damage states to propagate, may impact the way that different turrets behave or operate. So it's this kind of tackling all of these issues to make these large vehicles, very compelling experiences, because we want it to be more like, like Star Trek or something.
Right, and not just another chair on a ship.
Yeah,
exactly. A full interactable experience.
Exactly.
And we've got Zane working on the HUD for that, so come up with different HUD panels and UI schematics for each individual unique position, and how do we consolidate all those if you've got a multi-crew ship but you're only flying it by yourself, so how do we handle that kind of transition of one person trying to take on all those responsibilities as well?
Yeah. No, so it's fun. I think multi-crew for a lot of the guys here, since the time that they first joined the project, it's been the unique, cool thing that we've always really wanted to do. So
it's the thing I'm salivating over the most.
Yeah, and so it really helps to get the team excited and motivated, because it's it's the piece that we've always wanted. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
So that was Santa Monica again with our long-winded report this week. I hope you guys liked that extra little bit of information. So once again, I'm Darian.
I'm Travis.
And we're signing off. Thanks, guys.
Take care.
Hi, I'm David Langoliers. I'm senior producer here at Ilphonic.
I'm Chuck Brungart, president of Ilphonic.
So this week, I want to talk to you guys just about some of the bugs and some of the last-minute features that we're kind of implementing with FPS. And so one of those is we've hooked up depth of field settings specifically for each helmet. So depending on what helmet you're wearing, the designers now have the ability to change the depth of field setting around the edges of the screen, depending on whether you're aiming down sight or whether the gun is down at the side. But yeah, this is something Chris really wanted, to be able to tweak the feel of each one of the helmets so that the heavy armor helmet has a very confined feel to it, whereas the light marine helmet may have much more open feel. So yeah, that's a nice little bit of visual flair that's come online recently.
Yeah, and it's something that's gonna be really good for goggles. You know, that's something that has been kind of a challenge is with the systems we put in place. How do we deal with goggles? And I think we came up with a pretty solid solution, and the depth of field definitely plays into that. And yeah, we came up with some stuff that Chris really liked, kind of from the previs, and now we've been kind of just matching that. So I think it's really getting there, and we had some other things this week that we've been working on, some zero-G bug fixes. A lot of the new kind of animations are in. Right now, we're still kind of using a lot of, I guess, more keyframed animations versus mocap, a little blend of both, but we really kind of need to make sure that, these systems are going in the right direction. So I think we're kind of getting to an area where a lot of the guys are a lot more happy with the look. And so now there's this fun bug with kind of the arms messing around like Spider-Man, which is kind of a fun one. But we're getting really close to kind of narrowing that down and getting that pretty smooth. So it's going to be pretty incredible stuff. I mean, we're ironing out some of the physics issues with it too. But I think once that's in there, it's going to be, I think, like something that no one's ever really seen before in a game. So it's gonna be really exciting. So
yeah, and one other thing that we kind of got done this week was you may remember Travis had mentioned the Aegis system a while ago, which is kind of this blending in and out of ragdoll, and we've been having problems with that for the last couple weeks, to where you could blend into ragdoll, but coming back out of it would lock up. But our lead programmer here, Paul, finally figured that one out and got it so that it's transitioning smoothly in and out of ragdoll without locking up. So that was a big win for us as well. I think that's it for this week.
Yeah.
Thanks again, guys.
Thanks.
Hey guys, Jake Ross here, associate producer of the Persistent Universe, and here with me this week I have
Tom Davies, gameplay programmer.
Jeff Uriardi, gameplay programmer.
And we're here with you this week to talk a little bit about something you're going to see coming up here for Social Module. Subsumption is our peaceful NPC AI system, and these guys have been working on some various functionalities to help bring that to life. So guys, why don't you guys talk a little bit about what you're doing?
So I did kind of the tool end of the activity editor, which is for the subsumption system to actually build out activities. And Tom, you've done a lot of the back-end stuff, and you've worked on some of the other editors.
Yeah, so we've been working on the overall activity system that tells the peaceful AI, so AIs on planets, basically, in space stations, how to act. So we've been building the tools for that, which Jeff has been working on the activity tool for that, which will allow our designers here at Cloud Imperium to build the AIs. And I've been working some of the back-end systems that will make that run, so that the designer can build an AI in Jeff's tool and tell it how that character behaves, and then behind the scenes the code will run to make the character do what he's supposed to do, he or she's supposed to do.
So if like a designer wants to have a bartender doing bartender-like things like wiping down the bar or running the tap or something like that, sweeping out the floor, they'll kind of go through your activity editor kind of system to make that work.
Yeah, it's to abstract out, so they can visually build up activities and sub-activities to abstract out the technical details, so they don't have to actually go in there and script stuff themselves.
Okay.
So they can spend more time on the creative part of it rather than tech stuff.
So this is going to make the designer's job way easier in setting up like our 24-hour NPC kind of routines and stuff, right? Yeah. Okay, cool. So what's next on the horizon for as far as this kind of goes? I think it's like an activity scheduler or something else in the mix, right? What does that do?
The activity scheduler, I'm not working on that one.
Oh, okay.
Right. Well, that's sort of that's going to tie into the whole archetype system.
Okay.
That
All
we're
right.
building,
Okay. The
right?
archetype editor. Yeah. Okay.
But I mean, that's sort of a separate thing. But they tie in together. I mean, Subsumption is a group of a lot of different tools and techs that all kind of tie in together. So the point of the scheduler is to say, kind of based on a bunch of different factors, such as the economy of the planet that you're on, and the time of day, what kind of NPCs are going to exist in the world. So a bar will have a bartender, and it might have bar patrons. There might be criminals in there, pickpockets, people looking for a fight. So the scheduler is used to determine what kinds of those archetypes are placed in the world. And the archetype editor, which I think you'll be moving on to, right?
Yeah.
Is how designers will build those.
Yeah, and actually has a scheduling component in there. So.
Okay. Cool. Well, sounds like great stuff, and we'll have that first iteration of that to look forward to when social module releases. So, cool. Thanks for being here, guys. Appreciate it. And we'll see y'all next time. Thanks. Bye.
Hi, my name is Omar Oweda, concept artist at Cloud Imperium Games, and with me here is
Ali Brown, Director of Graphics Engineering.
And basically our goal to come to the UK was to help the characters become a little bit more integrated into the Star Citizen universe. And while we were going through the FPS characters, we realized we had a lot of unused opportunities to really make the characters explode. But to do that, we first needed to develop the technology behind it. So what we want the characters to do is be able to swap in all the different types of items for shoes, pants, clothes with a modular system, and not only do an object like clothing-based modular system, but a material-based modular system. So you could really choose the way that you want your character to look, and also weather over time. For example, something that's new to something that's old, that's something that might be more valuable to something that's a little bit more cheap or low end. So to do that, we had to use custom materials that Ali will help you talk about the optimization for.
Yeah, so to be able to get all these different layers of material on together, we decided to go for a system where we basically have a texture going over the whole character, and then per pixel they can map not just what color, say, the material is, but what material it will be. So they will define which area is leather, which area is plastic, and they mask it all out, and then they are what can be swapped at one time by you. And in these masks, we also define things like how it would fade over time, like how a gene would fade, or how it might be how paint would peel off some metal surface or something. And the artists paint all these masks, and then the tech takes over and crunches them all down, so it's super cheap to render. Hopefully cheaper than everything you've currently got in the hangars and in FPS now. So in the next few weeks, hopefully we should be looking for be able to get much more efficient characters starting to be built, and hopefully looking even better than they are now. And that's it.
Great. Cool. See you later.
Cheers.
Well, thank you to our studios from around the world. You are making this game possible. We truly appreciate the blood, sweat, and tears you put into Star Citizen. And speaking of blood, sweat, and tears, let's go over to Ship Shape with Lisa Ohanian. That didn't make sense.
Hey guys, I'm Lisa Ohanian. Welcome to Ship Shape. This week we're going to talk a little bit about the Reliant. Now, the concept art for the Reliant was done by David Hobbins, who also did concept art for the Mustang. The Reliant is, I like to think of it as a souped-up starter ship. It is technically a starter ship, but it's for multi-crew, which is really exciting. Now, we are selling the Reliant this week, but the reason I wanted to do it for Ship Shape is to sort of go behind the scenes and show you guys some images about what could have been with the Reliant. We have a lot of images of some of the early concept art for the different directions that we could have gone in this ship, which I think is really interesting. When we started concepting the ship, we had two major influences in mind. The first is that we wanted it to have kind of a Japanese aesthetic. And David said he looked at a lot of traditional and modern Japanese aesthetics to do this. He looked at Japanese cars, he looked at symbology associated with Japanese traditions. You can see that in some of the early concept shapes that we have here for the ship. Eventually we decided to move away from that a little bit and go more in a MISC direction because that's the manufacturer for the ship. But you can still see some of the influence in the curvature of the body and of the wings. The second major influence for this ship, and this wasn't as pronounced as the Japanese influence, was the Xi'an influence. You can see this a little bit in how the ship rotates, goes vertical, goes horizontal, and the cockpit kind of goes along with it. You can also see the Xi'an influence in where the power centers are. They're more spherical and kind of influenced other aspects of the exterior design of the ship. The Reliant is a mini hauler, which means it's going to need to haul cargo. In some of the earlier designs, David was thinking maybe you can load it into the wings. That would make for a pretty cool design. But as we built out the ship and as design weighed in, we realized that might not make sense because it would be really easy to imbalance a ship that's going to be rotating and transforming a lot. For this reason, we ended up keeping all of the cargo holding areas in the center body of the ship. The most fun aspect of designing the Reliant, according to David, was how the ship transforms, the animations involved, and he designed some of the earlier prototype animations for us and how it transforms. Again, this ship can fly horizontal and it can also fly vertical, rotating the cockpit, and that was a unique factor of this ship that he said was really exciting to work on. So that's it on the Reliant for today, guys. Thanks for tuning in for Ship Shape. But really quick, before we end the segment, you might have noticed that for the past few weeks we've had a temp logo. Now we have a contest running on the forums right now. We really want to get a logo that's designed by backers. So if you have anything, you think you can design anything, go to the forums, put your logo up there. We're going to be running this probably for the next few weeks before we'll be picking one, and it will become part of the Ship Shape segment. Looking forward to see what you have for us, guys. Thanks again. This is Lisa.
Thanks, Lisa. That is an incredible little ship, and that is not even the design we went with, which of course everyone will be able to see tomorrow. Now let's go over to our own James Pugh, who is sitting down with Ricky Jutley, producer extraordinaire in the UK. James it over.
Thanks, Ben. I'm here with project manager Ricky Jutley. Ricky, how you doing?
Greetings, backers. I'm doing very well.
Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
It's good to finally get you to sit down with us. I know we tried a couple times.
Yeah, it's just one of those things. Sometimes quite busy, but hey, I said, you know what? James isn't too bad, so why don't we just spend some time with him?
So you're visiting from the UK.
Yep.
What you here for?
So my primary role is project manager on Arena Commander, and the main purpose of the visit this time around is to kind of take a step back and look at what we've got in-game, and also think about the future plans that we want to kind of iterate on for the backers.
Are those plans, like, how far in advance are these plans? Are these something they'll see in a month, or is these something they'll see farther down the line?
I think a mixture of everything, to be honest. We'd start off with the short-term to mid-term goals, and then also think about the long-term goals, but in terms of, you know, work that will be contribute towards the long-term goals, that you won't see those straight off in the game, etc., etc. But we are thinking about long-term planning as well as something that we can do in the not-so-distant future.
So what kind of systems go into that type of planning? Are you thinking about specific things for, you know, X ship or the ships in general?
So we definitely would want to think of a high-level view for ships in general. So Arena Commander takes in ships, and that's how we kind of view it. So as I work as a project manager on Arena Commander, there are producers that work on ships specifically as well. So it's a good liaison between the producers of those ships, but also, you know, the creators on the design side of those ships and the aesthetically pleasing elements from the art directors. And I think generally what we'd kind of want to do is take a high level view of, hey, what are these ships that we've currently got in game? What purpose do they serve for the persistent universe? What purpose do they serve in Squadron 42? And then see on how we can like introduce new ships and better our current ships as well.
Yeah, that was something I was going to ask next. This high-level planning you're doing for Arena Commander, how does the reality of the other modules impact what you're doing in Arena Commander?
Huge. It's definitely a huge impact. I think what you'll have is Arena Commander being the current live product, and eventually the FPS will feed into that as well. But with Arena Commander, it's a lot of the long-term work that we need to do for the persistent universe, as well as Squadron 42. That will actually then feed into Arena Commander. So think of Arena Commander as somewhat of a test bed to start with.
Yeah.
But also it's something that we probably want to sustain as a live product as well, and have something quite competitive, something very fun, that people can actually start having not just the single player experience and the PU experience where they can explore and etc., but where they can essentially dogfight till their heart's content, really, just continually being on top of those leaderboards and enjoying that competitive aspect as well. But it's nice to be able to like pull in a lot of different elements from what we want to achieve with the PU into Arena Commander itself and then prototype.
Yeah, it must be a hard balancing act to take. You have to take Arena Commander and bring in all these other things, the PU and the FPS module, and kind of make them one unit, but you also want Arena Commander to have its own identity. All right, Ricky, thanks again for coming on, man.
Dude, thanks again as well.
Enjoy LA.
I will do.
Back to you, Ben. Point at Ben. Nailed it.
Thanks, James. I guess you could say that was a pretty productive interview. Because Ricky's a producer? Huh? Nah. Let's go over to Daniel Kamentsky, who is talking ship materials and how we build them.
Hi, I'm Daniel Kamentsky, surfacing artist at Cloud Imperium Games, and today I'm going to be showing you some surfaces. So I'm going to go over a little bit of my process and how what we use works. And so we're using what's called physically based rendering. It's just a fancy term for the new age rendering system, I guess. One of the things that PBR does really well is it kind of lumps everything into two categories. So you have your metals and your non-metals. Metals are typically, shiny and they have different specular properties, whereas non-metals like wood or concrete or rubber have very diffuse lighting and a lot of bounce lighting. But, you didn't come here to see that. You came here to see shiny stuff. So here you go. Here's some shiny stuff. So this level right here, this is my fancy new material zoo. Basically building this as a tool for the artists to kind of go in and see different textures. Because right now we're in the process of trying to build a global texture library so that across all the studios, Manchester, Austin, us, Denver, Behavior, all those guys, we can have a place where we can go where there's physically accurate textures and they can be used across all surfaces in our game, across ships, characters, environments, what have you. So this right now is my metals layer, and you can see I have a whole bunch of different specular values. We have nickel, copper, gold, iron, platinum, titanium, aluminum, and silver. I like titanium personally, strong metal. And here are two examples of metals that I've created. And the cool thing about shaders in CryEngine and the way that they work is they're very easy to edit without having to actually replace any of the textures that are involved. So, for example, right now, these are both, I think they're iron. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and say they're iron. So if I wanted them to, let's make them copper. So I'm going to come over here, grab this value. Oh wait, that's nickel. Copper, right. And then grab this orb here, find its texture, and replace the specular value with that of copper. And voila, it's copper, just like that. And it still maintains all its texture information. Also, one of the cool things is all our shaders have wear built into them. And one of the things that we're still trying to experiment with, and that might make it into the game at some point, is the idea that all our surfaces will wear over time. So I like to actually build this into the shader. And so right now you can see there's a little bit of wear on the surface. There's some scratches, but over time, turn helpers off. See it getting slowly and slowly dirtier and more messed up until it becomes completely covered with soot and dirt and whatnot. So that's metals. I like metals. Metals are nice. Now, I think one of the surfaces that gets used most in our game is paints. And right now I have 3 different paints set up in this scene. And again, one of the cool things about CryEngine that we all love is the ability to, if you offer your textures right, you can tint everything with the diffuse. So if you want your paint to be red, you got red, green, blue, pink, yellow, any color you want. So I know that fans definitely want to have the ability to customize ships. So in the future, we're hoping to be able to implement maybe RGB sliders or give you swatches to work with so that you can have further customization of your ships. And you know, you can do everything from a black Hornet to a red Mustang to even a pink Retaliator. There you guys go, pink Retaliator. All right guys, this has been a little look at how we build our materials in Star Citizen and how we achieve the high level of visual quality that our game demands. And I hope it's been informative. And I guess I'll catch you guys next time. I'm Daniel Kamentsky, surfacing artist at CIG.
Thank you, Daniel. That was some great material. That about wraps it up for Around the Verse this week. Tomorrow we're launching the MISC Reliant. It's our next starter ship, which means that it'll be a little bit more affordable, but it's still very, very cool. It was designed by David Hobbins, who's now working for us under contract to build some cool ships in his spare time. It has some very interesting features you're going to see tomorrow, and it's just a very sexy spaceship. Here's a sneak peek. Be sure to tune to Reverse the Verse tomorrow at 11 a.m. Pacific on Twitch. We'll be talking about the Reliant and taking all your Star Citizen questions. As always, thank you for tuning in. Thank you to subscribers for making the show possible. Thank you to backers for making Star Citizen possible. And we will see you around the verse.